Shout out to G-Man Boxing. Where's the piss bottle? It's over there.
All right, Chris Eubank Jr. defeats, I think it's a Wakin Anjaman, is how you pronounce it. We're just going to call him the opponent because his name is beating me here. But yeah, stops him after 5 rounds. You know, Chris Eubank didn't seem too pleased when the corner pulled his opponent out. The fans booed, and the Christian Hammer won. So basically, Christian Hammer and this guy, they're both pulled out after the 5th round. Christian Hammer took some big shots. It looked like, it looked like one of them fights where the guy didn't hit hard enough to put a dent in him, and that if it went on, he might have had serious injuries. This wasn't like that. His opponent, Eubank's opponent, he didn't have a great 5th round. Took a lot of body shots, took a couple of head shots. Looked to be like a little jittered a couple of times, but nothing major. It just seemed to me as though they because there was moments in this fight where the opponent was having a bit of success. He was countering a bit. There was a good little counter he did to Eubank Jr.'s body. I think it was in the 3rd round where Eubank Jr. acknowledged it and actually swung and missed the left hook really badly. So he was having a bit of success. He was elusive. He was moving around. At some stage, it was almost incessant. And I suspect that he probably just couldn't. I reckon what happened was he just knew himself. He couldn't keep up this movement. He couldn't keep up moving around the ring, basically. And eventually, Eubank Jr. would catch up to him. And then he would end up just being in no man's land, basically. Eubank Jr. came out in the very first round with his jab. He mainly just stuck to using the jab. Now, a complaint about Eubank Jr. over the years has been that he doesn't have much of a jab, primarily because he's always had issues with the elbow. He's had issues with that elbow for years, and anyone will know, if you've ever done like a really, really long session on a heavy bag where you're throwing lots of jabs, your elbow will start to hurt. It's happened to me a few times. It happens. So that was one of the issues with Eubank Jr. Maybe that's been rectified now, I don't know. But he was jabbing a lot early on in the 1st round. Now, for me, Roy Jones is getting Eubank Jr. to box a lot more. It's one of the things we've said about him, that when he has to go looking for an opponent, when he has to box, he's like a fish out of water. Now, he doesn't look... He's obviously not Erislandy Lara in terms of boxing ability or anything like that, but he's a lot... I can see what he's trying to do, and I think we need to just give him a little bit of time. He will get there. I think if it had been the original opponent, Sven Elber, because I had a look at him when he was announced as Eubank's opponent, and for me, he looked a lot more tailor-made to Eubank Jr. than this guy. He looked like the kind of guy who would come in, squared shoulders, and give Eubank Jr. opportunities to go hit him. He wouldn't have needed to go looking for him at all. This opponent here was the opposite. He was moving a lot, and Eubank Jr. was trying to box, but I just don't think Eubank Jr. I think Eubank Jr., he was trying to land some counter hooks. He was trying to jab his way in, but I think he really was kind of almost, I don't want to say caught between two styles. Maybe that's the wrong way to word it. But whenever he got the chance and he would, get his opponent up to the ropes, he was landing body shots. He was throwing his uppercuts, his trademark uppercuts, and they looked a lot better. They looked a lot crisper and a lot better thrown than his jabs, just from my opinion. That was kind of what Eubank Jr. was trying to do thereafter, because it was after the 3rd round. I was looking at this and I was thinking, geez, this isn't like a Eubank Jr. fight that I would normally know. It's a very low punch out push from both men. One thing, Eubank Jr., he'll throw punches from the 1st round to the 12th round non-stop. Very low output. He really only started opening up then whenever he got an opportunity. After, we'll say, like 3-4 rounds. Started going to the body a bit then. And once to be honest, once Eubank Jr. went to the body, that was kind of when he started having much of his success. But saying that, his opponent never really was noticeably buzzed from my eyes. There was a few times in the 5th round where Eubank Jr. did land some good left hooks, and it looked like maybe there was a jitter or two from his opponent, but nothing crazy. Nothing that would make you think, oh my god, he's hanging on for dear life. This guy's taking a bit. It looked like Eubank Jr. was breaking him down slowly but surely. He was finding, a little bit of range. He was getting to him with his left hooks. He was going to the body, and it looked like this was Eubank Jr. gradually breaking his opponent down, as opposed to having a really, really big round and then just waiting and seeing what happened next. It looked like this was going to be a kind of long, drawn-out thing. And obviously his opponent's corner just decided, no, enough's enough. Fans booed. I can see their point. I can see why Eubank Jr. looked a bit unhappy after it. I think he wanted to make a statement. Never got that chance. There's been talk of him being in a pay-per-view in his next fight. Now, obviously when you hear that, you start thinking of names. Triple G, no, that's not going to happen. He's fighting Morata. Lara, stylistically, I think that's a very bad idea for Eubank Jr. Liam Williams is being talked about. That's a very good fight. I actually wouldn't mind seeing that fight. I would make Eubank Jr. the favourite. I think Liam Williams is a bit too easy to hit, and I think that he gives himself opportunity. He would give Eubank Jr. opportunities where Eubank Jr. wouldn't need to go looking for him. Having said that, Liam Williams is very physically strong. He is a very big puncher. It'd be a very interesting fight, I think. If that's the pay-per-view, then I don't know if you call that pay-per-view worthy necessarily, but certainly it's a good little domestic fight. Other talk have been Kell Brook. I mean, Jesus, please, no, dear God, no, don't put him in with Kell Brook. No, Kell Brook is shot to pieces at this stage, and I think the only fight for Kell Brook is Amir Khan at this stage, to be honest with you. Certainly not Eubank Jr., certainly not. That's my thoughts on this. Hope you enjoyed. Let me know yours in the comment section. If you could, smash the like button, subscribe if you haven't already. Lads and lasses, I'll talk to you. Peace.